And welcome back to episode 7 of Self-Care Summer. Hope everybody is having a fabulous day, and it looks like summer is here to stay. And quickly, just a reminder of this program, we are here to be all things self-care over the summer. If you've been watching the program all the way along, we focused first on mental wellness with some personal stories as well as some resources that you can take with you and not only share for yourself, but share with your family and friends and colleagues around the industry and anywhere really. We've transitioned over into physical wellness and having on an Olympian last week, which was absolutely fabulous. I actually have a chance to often see them as well, and it's great. But today we're transitioning or continuing on with the physical wellness, but what you put in your body is really important, and how you treat your body from a nutrition perspective, but also from a natural perspective. And so we're here to learn about that today. And our first guest today is Dr. Christine Nowakowski. And so she's a naturopathic doctor practicing in both Grimsby and Hamilton, so some of our local markets. After completing her undergraduate degree in biomedical science at the University of Guelph, she moved on to another 4 years of education to attain her Doctor of Naturopathy at the Canadian College of Naturopathic Medicine. Upon graduation, she received the Governor's Award of Excellence for her outstanding academic achievement. In practice, Christine has a strong passion for a clinical focus on all things women's health: PMS, fertility, pregnancy, menopause, digestive health, and more. She loves working with patients to help them uncover the root causes of health concerns, provide education and help sort through the overwhelming amounts of information and opinions out there, so that they can feel empowered in their health and bodies and ultimately their absolute best. And Christine, I want to welcome you to the program. Thank you so much for joining us. Wow, quite amazing to have you. Probably the smartest person definitely on this program right now. But thank you for joining us. It was nice to sort of connect prior to the program and have a brief chat, get some smiles going. But I know you're here to talk to us about, all things and understanding what you do in terms of naturopathy. Naturopathic doctor. So I'll let you take it away, Christine.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much for having me. Hopefully this can kind of be relevant to as many people today. But I thought I'd start off with just sort of a brief introduction on sort of what naturopathic medicine is. Because I know a lot of people maybe don't have an idea or don't know exactly what we do as naturopaths. So essentially, we just take a very holistic approach to your healthcare. So we have longer appointment times than you would with your family doctor. And that's really so we can talk about and kind of look at all different aspects of your physical health, your mental health, and really get to know you as an individual. And then from there, sort of what we actually do as far as maybe treatments or helping you out. We definitely focus a lot on nutrition and lifestyle. So what are you putting in your body every day? What foods are maybe good for you, not so good for you? How can we help you with sleep, stress management, all that good stuff? And then we have a lot of, kind of other tools to kind of help support you in those other areas or kind of get your body where it needs to be. So those are things like vitamins, supplements, herbal medicine, and we're trained in acupuncture as well, which is great. I think there's one sort of big misconception sometimes that maybe we're in opposition to or against conventional care in any way, which is definitely not true. And I think we can actually work really well together. Some of our areas of strength, I think, can help maybe fill in the gaps a little bit of conventional care and sort of vice versa. So I think we can actually go hand in hand for people really well. So what I thought I'd kind of jump into a little more today is basically some suggestions when it comes to nutrition and a little bit of lifestyle too, of what we can do to just kind of maintain our energy, our focus throughout the workday, kind of prevent that afternoon slump. So this is something I've discussed with a lot of my patients over the last year and a half now, I guess, just because so many people are working from home, which is a huge adjustment and kind of a loss of regular routines and different things. So hopefully, there'll be some takeaways or some little adjustments we can all make to help kind of keep our energy, keep our mood up, especially while working from home. So first and foremost, I guess when it comes to nutrition, keeping your blood sugar well balanced throughout the day can really go a long way. So what I mean by this is actually eating sort of 3 real meals throughout the day or kind of at regular intervals throughout your day. When we consistently fuel our body with sort of good food, good nutrition, that goes a long way in just keeping our energy up. Can also go a long way in helping us kind of stay on top of stress or anxiety too. So when our blood sugar actually drops low, if we haven't really been eating for a long period of time, maybe kind of just grazing throughout the day or sort of living off coffee, when our blood sugar is low, physical symptoms of that are things like feeling shaky, uneasy, on edge, right? So if you're someone who's maybe prone to anxiety, having low blood sugar or kind of erratic blood sugar levels throughout the day can definitely make that a lot worse. Our brains also require a ton of energy to focus. So I think something like 20 to 30% of our calories that we eat actually go directly to our brain to help us do all the wonderful things our brains do. So I have a lot of patients that are hesitant, like, I don't know, I shouldn't be eating that much because I'm sitting all day, I'm working at home, I'm not really up and moving. But we still need to fuel our brains so that they can keep us feeling kind of focused, energized, and help us do our jobs. So along with kind of eating at regular intervals, also want to think about incorporating some source of protein or a healthy fat each time we eat too. So proteins and healthy fats, so that could be things like nuts, seeds, avocados, olive oil, all that good stuff. Those types of foods really help keep us full for a longer period of time. So we feel a little more satisfied when we eat them. They kind of keep our blood sugar nice and steady so we don't have a quick spike and then a crash. One of the reasons too we often get cravings later in the day for sort of like sugary, junky, carby foods is that we haven't actually fueled our body properly earlier in the day. We might not have eaten enough or eaten enough protein or eaten enough of those fats. And then our brain is kind of craving that quick energy rush we get when we eat something that's really sugary. So it's a great way to kind of curb those types of cravings, but also just keep your energy up later in the day. Protein especially is important because it breaks down into amino acids, which are basically the building blocks for the neurotransmitters, which are little chemicals in our brain like serotonin that affect our mood or kind of regulate our mood. So that can be, again, a key if you're kind of struggling with maybe low mood or motivation, taking a look, okay, am I actually getting a good amount of protein in throughout my day or at each of my meals? Another kind of, I guess, maybe side tip, if you're someone that notices you get really bloated when you eat, or at least kind of during your workday, taking like a dedicated break to actually sit and sort of take a breath, eat away from your work or from kind of your work desk, workspace, and focus on sort of chewing your food, enjoying your food can go a really long way. We have kind of that separation from work and we're eating away from distractions. Our brain is able to kind of give our digestive system those cues it needs to turn on and make stomach acid, make enzymes that help us break down that food better so that we don't feel as bloated. We feel bloating often when we just haven't broken food down very well. So sometimes that I found is really important for a lot of people to actually not only enjoy your food a little more, but help you feel a little more full and not experience kind of bloating, which can be another reason we feel kind of yucky or low energy sort of towards the end of the day. All right. And then the next thing I thought I'd touch on is coffee, caffeine consumption. So I love coffee, and I know a lot of us do, but it's definitely something to kind of pay attention to sometimes or just be a little mindful of. We know it's a stimulant. It gives us a bit of energy, which is great, but kind of like low blood sugar symptoms, when we have too much stimulation to our nervous system, that makes us feel shaky, jittery, on edge, can feel a little more prone to being kind of that high stress, overwhelmed, which isn't going to be great for our focus. So something to think about is, are you consuming it later in the day? Are you consuming it throughout the day? I would say probably 1 to 2 cups for most people isn't an issue. But if you're kind of always someone that reaches for that 2nd or 3rd cup later in the day, that might be something to kind of check in. Okay, do I actually need coffee? Or is my energy low because I haven't been sleeping well? Maybe I haven't drinking water all day. Maybe I didn't eat enough earlier in the day. So kind of doing that sort of mental check-in, like, is coffee what I actually need? Or maybe there's something else, another reason for why I'm kind of feeling that need for a boost. Having your coffee with a bit of food can actually help as well. So instead of having it maybe on an empty stomach in the morning, having it when you eat some breakfast or have a little snack if you're not a big breakfast person. But that will actually slow the rate that caffeine is kind of absorbed into our bloodstream to sort of give us that energy spike. So When it's a little slower of a rise into our bloodstream, we get kind of more of that sustained, slower rise, kind of longer release of energy from that caffeine instead of kind of that quick rush and then a quick drop off, which makes us sort of want more. So that might be something to think about. Another suggestion I often give people for the afternoon, if they feel like they still need that little bit of a boost or something to help kind of get them through the rest of their workday, a good alternative is actually green tea. So green tea contains a little bit of caffeine for that energy piece, but it also contains a really high amount of something called L-theanine. And L-theanine actually has kind of a calming effect on our nervous system. It helps our brains focus a little better. So that can be a nice way to, again, give you a bit of energy, but have more focused energy. So it's not kind of pushing you over the edge, feeling too stimulated. Less likely to interfere with your sleep that night too. All right, and then the last thing I kind of wanted to touch on or give you some thoughts, things to think about, sticking to regular routines or having some good structure around your work days can be really important. So I think working from home has made it a lot harder to have sort of those boundaries or separation from work and home life. And that can definitely contribute to kind of ongoing fatigue or just feeling more stressed. If there's a piece of our brain that's just never able to fully shut off, right? Piece of our brain that's always kind of focused on work or thinking about work, it makes us harder to actually have sort of productive periods of rest. And then because of that, kind of harder to maybe keep our focus and energy up when we are supposed to be working. Our brains also love routines and consistency. So you probably notice, if you eat breakfast at the exact same time every day, your body gets hungry around that time every day. You might salivate a little bit when it's breakfast time. So our bodies can kind of begin to anticipate and sort of get ready for whatever activity is normally happening at that time. So if you kind of stick to a regular schedule with eating, with when you're doing your work, with when maybe you're exercising, your body adapts to that really well and helps us get the most out of all those good things. A couple of other sort of tips, I guess, when it comes to thinking about your daily routine. If you can get outside or get some exposure to sunlight in the morning or even midday, that can actually help. It kind of reinforces our body's natural sleep and wake cycles or circadian rhythms. So we're probably aware, you might have talked about or heard of, we should be off our screens before bed, that can interfere with our sleep quality. So kind of doing the opposite and actually trying to get some natural light in the morning helps signal our brain, oh, this is morning time. This is when I'm supposed to be awake and alert. And it helps get our energy going. So we feel more energized during the day, and it makes it easier to kind of unwind in the evening when we're trying to avoid light in the evening. And then of course, incorporating some form of regular movement or exercise is really important. It doesn't have to be anything crazy. My sort of advice is always that patients just find something you like doing and be consistent with it. Maybe that's a 10-minute walk every day. Maybe it's just trying to get up and kind of stretch a couple times throughout your workday. But if it's something that you're consistent with, provides a ton of benefits. We know people that are regularly active have sort of better sleep quality, they report better energy, better moods, and it becomes another really good tool for just kind of staying on top of stress. And then I guess a couple other tips was sort of reinforcing those boundaries between home and work life. If you can really create a designated workspace, it doesn't have to be a room or anything like that. I know that's not always possible, but having that sort of one seat at a table or wherever it is that you do your work, and work be the only thing you do in that space. So that's something else that gives our brain the cues okay, when I'm sitting there, it's work time. This is time to focus. This is time, makes it easier for your brain to kind of delineate, okay, when I'm here, I do work. And when I'm not there, I'm not doing work. Something else that I kind of worked on recently, actually, to have sort of better boundaries from my work and kind of home outside life, was turning off email notifications on my phone. So it was a terrifying thing to do. But I found, I would always get emails, on evenings, weekends, or outside of times when I'm seeing patients. And then my brain's still going and still thinking about people and responding. And I was never really having those actual kind of downtime. So now I feel that's made a huge difference. And I probably actually do a better job of responding to emails because I've kind of worked it into my work hours or schedule. So I sit down and I go through and answer all my emails. So I'm not missing things. And then conversely, I feel when I'm off work or I'm not in my working hours, I'm better able to actually relax and kind of de-stress. So I think that was everything. I hope helpful in one way or another.
It was vastly helpful. It's funny, Christine, that definitely the email thing is something I incorporated a long time ago, shutting down tech and all that. I did have a question though, and this is because I know specifically our audience is probably going to be in the mortgage industry, and I know a lot of them do drink coffee. Is there a preferred way to drink? Like, should it be black? Does it really matter? Is there a certain? I know you said the morning may be better. There's a certain time, but is there the best way to drink coffee?
I'm not too picky. Like, I think if you it doesn't have to be black. If you want to have a little cream or milk or something like that, that's not the end of the day for most people. I would say sugar is more important to watch. Like, if it's a little bit of sugar, fine. But if it's like, you're a double kind of person, that sugar adds up and is probably not great for us. So that's probably the only thing I'm sort of picky about is maybe how much sugar people are putting in that coffee.
Yeah, I can see that. I really like espresso actually. So I have like a midday sort of espresso. So, which is like right after this call today, I'll be having a little espresso.
Yeah.
One more question. So when it comes to like drinking of water, this is really important because, it's sort of the oil of our life, right? It used to be that 8 glasses sort of thing. Is that still 8 glasses or is it more? Is it less? Like, what does that look like?
Yeah, somewhat. So I think it can still depend on the individual. Like if you're somebody that's doing a ton of exercise, for example, or was doing hot yoga every day or running outside right now in the heat, like you're going to need more water if you're sweating more. So I usually tell patients, aside from your first thing in the morning pee, your pee the rest of the day, if you're well hydrated, should be like a very pale yellow. So that's the best way to kind of know, am I actually hydrated? And then you can kind of adjust your water intake from there.
Great. And then one more thing, just because I'm quasi-inquisitive about this, is when it comes to like the physical side of things, you mentioned obviously we should be moving and it doesn't have to be crazy, which is great. How many times a week should somebody be, moving? Yeah,
I mean, ideally there's like something every day. Again, if it's like a 5-minute walk, right? Something, I'd say, again, this can definitely depend on the individual and sort of their starting point of activity and all that sort of stuff. But I would say like some form of more exercise, maybe 3 to 5 times a week would be great.
Good. Love it. I have one more question just because we've put your website up there. So if somebody's interested, they can talk. And I know at this current time, you're doing some virtual meetings and all of that. When somebody contacts you and then they have an appointment, what does sort of that first day look like? Is there an assessment? Like, what does that all look like?
Right. So I do offer like free 15-minute calls, which are kind of nice for people that are sort of like, I don't know how you might be able to help me, or just to kind of have sort of that meet and greet experience. So that's something I'll do with patients just so they have that kind of initial meeting and feel like, okay, this will be helpful for me. And then the initial appointment I have with patients is usually about an hour and a half. And so we talk about everything in that appointment, get really clear on, okay, what are your maybe health concerns? What are your goals? And from there, we kind of come up with a plan. So sometimes that's might be, okay, we need to get some blood work done or do some testing. Sometimes it's, let's just focus on the diet for now. Maybe we'll incorporate some supplements to help with what's ever going on. So we kind of come up with a plan at that first appointment. And then we sort of schedule follow-ups as needed from there. So some people, we need to see each other a lot more initially if there's like a ton going on. Some people, we have that initial plan and they are kind of good for a couple months and we check in as needed. So does that make sense?
It does. I love it because for anybody, sometimes, when we first contact somebody, whether it's a service or whatever, we're just not always sure of what that looks like. So it always does help to know what that's going to look like. So can you actually book me something in with that? And I encourage everybody to contact her as well. So,
awesome. Thank you. Yeah, well, appreciate it.
Thank you so much. I'm going to bring you back in a little bit here, but we're just continuing. And great resources. Thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you in a little bit here.
Sounds good. My pleasure.
Thank you. All right. Well, that was great. And I'm a big believer in sort of the things, again, that we put in our body, and not just what we put in our body, but how we treat our bodies is key. We only have one, and we have to take care of it on a daily basis. And so we're going to transition a little bit and bring in our next guest today, and it's Natalie Chatterton. And Natalie is a Niagara-located nutritionist in training with passion for all things health and food. Yummy. Love food. She completed her undergraduate degree in communication studies at Wilfrid Laurier University before enrolling at the Institute of Holistic Nutrition, where she will graduate from in 2022. She now works as the Community Engagement Coordinator for the Forward Food Program for Humane Society International Canada, as well as at the local health food store. When she isn't working or studying, you can find her trying new recipes in the kitchen, practicing yoga, and spending some time outdoors. Natalie, welcome to our program today, and thank you so much for joining us. I love food.
Yes, me too. Well, hello, everyone, and thank you, Trevor, for the introduction. I am so delighted to join you all here today. So, like Trevor mentioned, I'm currently studying to become a certified nutritional practitioner at the Institute of Holistic Nutrition. And like Christine kind of mentioned, holistic health really embodies the physical, mental, and spiritual aspects of health, and holistic nutrition specifically focuses on the holistic approach to what we eat. So I'm super passionate about health and nutrition, obviously, and I truly believe that eating well is one of the best forms of self-care. So today I would like to chat with you all about what we can eat to stay energized throughout the day. So I hope I don't overlap too much with what Christine said, but it'll just go to show how important all of this is. So I'm sure we can all relate to that midday need for a nap, which we instead usually treat with too much caffeine. And it's a true struggle sometimes trying to get through that post-lunch slump. So I just thought I would mention some things that we can do to manage that. And so to understand that, we really do need to understand how we can eat to balance our blood sugar. So I'm going to discuss those concepts a bit and then follow up with some snack suggestions to keep you fueled throughout the day. So just some general guidelines and suggestions that I have for eating for energy are to choose whole foods rather than your prepackaged and processed foods, because these are going to be filled with more essential nutrients and they're going to be easier on your digestion, which will leave you feeling a lot better physically and mentally. I really do find that my mood is a lot better when I'm eating a variety of whole foods. And now I know we kind of talked about this already, but if you really feel that you need caffeine midday, I would aim for green tea or matcha, like Christine said, because they have a bit less caffeine and so they won't cause you to crash as much and they won't keep you up at night so that you can have a better sleep. And they also have so many antioxidants that are great for your skin, digestion, and mental clarity. Matcha especially is so rich in antioxidants. And like we mentioned, green tea also contains L-theanine, which promotes relaxation. So it's so beneficial for combating stress. And then also I would suggest to always pair your carbs with proteins and fats. And this is for your blood sugar regulation, because if you just eat a lot of carbs and sugars, it'll cause your blood sugar to spike quickly, which will cause that rapid release of insulin. And then you're going to have that blood sugar drop so quickly and very low. So that's what they call the sugar crash. So if you pair your carbs, like fruits, with proteins and fats, like nuts and seeds, then you're going to allow your energy to be sustained for a lot longer so that you aren't falling asleep at your desk after lunch. Not that I've ever done that. Just kidding. So compromised blood sugar management, it's associated with so many issues, which include diabetes and weight gain and inflammation, but also mental fuzziness, mood swings, anxiety, depression, and sleep disorders. And the key contributors to blood sugar imbalances are too many refined sugars and starches, as well as trans fats and damaged dietary oils. I promise I'm not trying to scare you here, but I just do think it's so important that we really understand how what we eat impacts how we feel both physically and mentally. So with that being said, I have 7 tips for balancing blood sugar through our diet. So number 1, I would try and eat more frequent small meals throughout the day. And 2, eat protein with every meal. Christine talked about how important protein is, and it doesn't have to be a steak dinner or a protein shake. You can get protein from nuts, nut butter, beans, chickpeas, or even a couple tablespoons of hemp seeds have so much protein in them. They're a really great source. Number 3, eat lots of veggies and fruits because these are so hydrating for your body, and while they are carbs, they're packed with fiber, so it's so good for you. And number 4, use healthy fats and oils with every meal. Healthy fats include extra virgin olive oil, coconut oil, avocado, and
oil, nuts, flax, and hemp. And and I would avoid hydrogenated oils like canola oil and vegetable oil because they're so easily damaged from high heat, and they can result in a lot of free radical damage in your body, which can cause pain, inflammation, and many other issues. And so, like I said before, always remember that eating fiber, fat, and protein, I call this the FFP rule, with your meals will decrease the rate of glucose absorption. And that is so important for managing your blood sugar. Anybody can experience poor blood sugar management, so it's super important to understand how the system works in your body in order to avoid those energy crashes. I honestly didn't really understand the whole blood sugar management before studying nutrition, and I always thought I could just eat a whole big bowl of fruit, which is still a healthy snack, but you're going to be in a much better position later on if you put a handful of nuts with that fruit. And I really believe that that's true self-care. It's when you think of your future self, what the daily decisions you make, including what you eat. And then tip number 5, limit consumption of refined sugars and starches. Obviously, I fully believe in treating yourself, but I still aim for whole grains or natural sugars like maple syrups and dates whenever possible. Know we all know the feeling too well of when you eat too much candy and you just feel so awful and lethargic and slow after. And we know that that's the sugar crash. So I still think you can eat delicious baked goods and different treats, but if they're using healthier flours and non-refined sugars, you won't feel so yucky after. Tip number 6, try not to go more than 3 to 4 hours without eating. I know this can be difficult when you're really busy and on the move, and it can be stressful to know what to eat when you're pressed for time. This is why meal prepping comes really in handy. So even if you just wash and cut all your vegetables and fruits ahead of time, it can make it so much easier to reach for that healthy snack when you're in a pinch. And then number 7, I know we talked about this, but drink lots of water. Hydration is so, so important, and it's going to provide you with better mental clarity, and it's just so necessary for good digestion, which will result in better energy levels overall. So with that being said, I'm going to recommend a few yummy snack options that follow the FFP, fat, protein, fiber rule, and will give you a midday energy boost that we all need so much. So one thing I like is raw veggies like carrots and cucumbers with hummus, because you're getting the vegetables with some protein and fats. And you could even add in some nice seeded crackers. I really like Mary's crackers for some extra crunch. Another thing I love, it's such a favorite of mine, is apples and nut butter, especially peanut butter for myself. But you could even throw some granola on there or seeds and cinnamon to make it feel fancy. Another favorite is toast with avocado. I would recommend not like white Wonder Bread, but rye bread, multigrain, or sourdough, or if you're gluten-free, something like a buckwheat bread. And then, avocado and hemp seeds. And I really love everything but the bagel seasoning because it's so tasty. Another snack, yogurt with berries. I like to do coconut yogurt myself, but any yogurt would be good, like a Greek yogurt with berries and pumpkin seeds. And then also a last one is a smoothie. And so like a berry smoothie with some almond butter and chia seeds. And one thing you could add to your smoothie or any snack really is maca powder. It's an amazing superfood that has extra energizing benefits. It actually promotes slow burning, sustained energy. So it's a really great choice for that midday boost. You could even add it to your oatmeal in the morning or anything really, like some energy bites, and it's just a really great little superfood, and it kind of tastes caramelly too, which I really like. So each of these snacks I mentioned, they all include carbs paired with protein and healthy fats, so you will feel sustained for longer without feeling that energy crash. There's really so many options for healthy snacks, so as long as you follow the FFP rule and you stick to whole foods, get creative and have fun with it. And just before I finish up, I have one super cool ingredient I wanted to mention for blood sugar management, and that is cinnamon. Not only is cinnamon so flavorful, but it also has amazing blood sugar balancing benefits because it limits insulin resistance. So it's a really good thing to add to your smoothies, on your fruit, or any meal you see fit. I could talk about food all day long, but that's all I have for today. So if you have any questions and you want to connect, you can follow me on Instagram at Natalie the Nutritionist. And awesome. Stay updated. Okay. Thank you.
We put your website there, Natalie, as well. And I'm actually just on it here. And you can like shop online. You can do all sorts of stuff there in terms of getting food and all that, but you had me at avocado and toast because a guilty pleasure of mine. Avocado smash, love it. With a little bit of olive oil, it's just a delicious snack. We did have a few questions that came up, and I'd love to put them on the screen here if we can. And sort of at the beginning of your talk there, Bill had made a comment about any suggestions around outside of carb counting, something that you could do from a diabetic diet management. I don't know if that's more of a personalized type answer that you could put out there, but any comment on that?
I think it is more personalized, but I would try to follow the glycemic load rather than the glycemic index. That's kind of a whole other thing, but it is a really interesting way to kind of look at your carbs, but also the glycemic load approach will allow you to consider proteins and everything else in each meal to kind of see how that affects your insulin levels. So I would recommend to him to look into the glycemic load approach to eating. So I'll make sense there.
Awesome. That's great. Well, we had another question that came in, and are there better tea qualities that we should be looking for over some others?
Definitely. I would recommend to try to go for organic when it comes to teas, and especially with matcha, you really want to make sure you're getting high quality, because if not, it could have a lot of toxins and whatnot in it, which is the opposite effect we're looking for. So usually like a ceremonial grade organic matcha or any organic green tea will be good. I really like Celebration Herbals or Traditional Medicinals. Both make really great teas. Cool.
That's awesome. We have some other questions. I may bring Christine back into it just for some other questions here. And
absolutely.
I had you sitting in the green room there, but there was another question. I think maybe you can both touch on this one here, and I'll put it on the screen, where Nancy had some success with intermittent fasting, and I'd love both your thoughts on that particular subject, as it's a hot topic nowadays. Natalie, you go first. Sorry.
Yeah, I think that it's different for everyone, and that intermittent fasting can definitely be beneficial. I've heard great benefits, but I think it really depends on the person. Christine, I don't know if you have more to say about that.
Yeah, for sure. I'd say it's still like an individualized thing. I know everyone hates that answer, like, oh, it depends, but it is, because everyone sort of has different needs. And like, so I've found sometimes men can tolerate kind of more extreme intermittent fasting better. Sometimes women seem to be a little more sensitive, or again, if somebody's really stressed, really anxious, it's probably not the approach I'm going to take with them, because of kind of the impacts. If their blood sugar is a little off, that can sort of exacerbate some of those things. So there's different ways to play around with it. And I think sometimes, by all means, like experimenting a little bit with how you eat or when you eat, and kind of seeing how you feel, because everyone's a little different.
Yeah, perfect. There's actually, it seems like there's a lot of comments here. So I'm just sort of going through the comments. And there was one, I think, Brent, I think this is a question. It was about any specific oils that you got rid of that really helped with this. I'm not really sure what he's referring to. Oh, he was referring to, I guess one of our comments was somebody had lost 35 pounds with a balanced diet, I guess. Just trying to go through this. Well, let's skip to the end here. Someone put cinnamon in their coffee. And what are the thoughts around cinnamon in the coffee?
Go for it. Yeah.
Yeah. I think cinnamon's delicious in coffee. I think that's a great way to add some flavor without adding sugar as well to your coffee.
Awesome.
Yeah, definitely.
It flavors things up for sure. Ladies, I want to thank you both for joining us on today's program. This was week 7 of Self-Care Summer. I think this was, there's a lot of takeaways that you provided for us today. This program does live on. And so I do encourage each and every person not only to watch this program again, but share it and share the contact information for both our guests today. They come on and do this on their own time and provide resources on their own time. The best way we can say thank you is by promoting and helping their businesses as well, and also taking care of our bodies. And lastly, the goal and the spirit behind this program throughout the summer is to help one person each day. And so please share the program. And let's all take care of ourselves during Self-Care Summer. Ladies, thank you again for joining us today. Everybody, we'll see you back next week. Self-Care Summer, week 8. Thank you again.
Thank you.
Thank you.